Alright, the weather is finally cooperating, so time to put some color on this cabinet. I'm going to go with some perfect brown. I'm going to give I guess a couple light coats over the whole cabinet. And if I like the way it looks, I will mask off everything, and I want to hit this bottom stripe here either a couple more times with this or with a different type of brown. I want to make this distinct looking from the main body. And then the very bottom here, I will use an opaque version of perfect brown. That's how the original was. That's solid wood down here. And I guess I didn't want the grain to show, so that will be a solid pigment-based toner, whereas this is a translucent dye-based toner. So shake the can really good and get to it. Here it is after 2 light coats of perfect brown. I think it looks great. A little lighting up here in the attic isn't all that good, so I think I'll bring it downstairs for closer inspection. But I think that'll do it. And that is the huge advantage of toner lacquer over stain. In all of about 5 minutes I'm done with the color. Bam, just like that. It's dry. Don't have to apply stain and wait for 24 hours for it to dry and have uneven color, or have the color change when you hit solid wood versus veneer. It's just instant, even color coating over the whole cabinet. This paper is easy to work with. Just roll some out. Go to the cabinet. Turn it off. Position it like so. Tape. Touch it down to the paper first, and then get it in.
Именно вокруг. Одна из миниатюр называлась «Царевна». Актер получил в ней роль любовника. Выйдя на сцену и увидев героиню, он должен был остолбенеть.
Do the same on the other side. I don't need to worry about doing this section up here where the toner's not going to travel that far. Secure at the top well so it doesn't fall off.
За полное отсутствие чувства юмора. Действительно, не тот был у Высоцкого юмор, не та была группа поклонников.
I'm just going to go with the perfect brown. I'll put on 2, 3, 4 more coats along that bottom. You got to remember how many coats I put on too, because I want to do the same thing to that removable control panel, which I haven't touched yet. The part that goes in down here, I still need to strip that. And do all the same steps I did on the rest of the cabinet. I think I'll have just enough tape to finish this. Roll's almost empty. Снова выдали лавки и хламиду Лешего, играй не хочу. Снова начали репетировать пьесу Романьола, где ему досталась роль японского консула. Интересная роль, только больно молчаливая. Надо вместе с изображающим немца... Oh, no, I don't speak whatever language that is in the background. And they were playing some music earlier, so I left it on. It's probably Ukrainian, if I had to guess, or Polish.
Секретаря райкома, которую потом, однако, пришлось сократить ввиду недостатка времени. А мизансцена такая была. Прежде чем встретиться с Давыдовым и начать с ним задушевный партийный разговор, секретарь бежал по дамской...
Alright, back up into the attic for spraying. Now here's something that I've been neglecting, which is the frame that goes around the screen and holds the glass in. That's because it has the decals on it. They were in decent condition, but unfortunately the finish around them is in miserable condition. I'd really like to retain those decals if at all possible, though. So So I've been pondering this, and well, what I'm leaning towards now is strip and refinish the three sides so it'll look decent on the cabinet, and down here just touch it up as best I can and leave it alone. Someday if I ever get some reproduction decals, I can always easily just pop this part off, strip this down, put new decals on. I'm also tempted to try out some of these products to reflow the finish. Unfortunately, there just isn't that much finish there, but it's very alligator and crazed, and I'm curious to see what effect these might have. So these two, the Super Blush Retarder and Blush Retarder, or Blush Plus Retarder, these are for when you get moisture trapped in your finish, like if you spray when it's really humid. But what they really are is solvents, lacquer, but basically solvents to melt the lacquer and then keep it liquidy for a while. So it's like lacquer thinner plus something to keep it from evaporating so quickly. So I've heard it said, I've read that if you're lucky and you use these types of products, it can kind of melt and reflow the old finish. This is a little bit different. This also contains some of this, but also has a low solids lacquer. This is supposed to help when you've got an orange peel or a bumpy surface. So maybe use like one of these, followed up on one of those. So this to kind of reflow it, and this to make it less bumpy. I don't know. I figure I got nothing to lose. Now, of course, there is finish loss, so there's nothing to reflow there because there is no more finish. But I'm thinking if it can kind of reflow it around the decals, maybe make them a little better and get rid of all these cracks, then I can maybe try to touch that up somehow. Because experience has taught me if I just spray clear lacquer over this to preserve them, it's also going to preserve all those cracks. I've seen this before where it's not just the lacquer cracks, it gets yellowy. I think there might be like air or something gets trapped inside of it or something like that. And just sealing it in, it'll look terrible. Look like that forever. So, super blush or no blush? I don't know. Contains a special solvent dissolved to eliminate blushing. Contains a special solvent designed to eliminate blushing. I really don't know what the difference is between these two. So, flip a coin? I don't know. Well, this is pretty bad, so let's go with the super and see what happens. I tried both the Blush Retarder and Blender Flow Out, and the decals do look better. And those cracks look a little better. I imagine if I sanded it, it would look better still. So I guess it worked about as well as I really expected it to. So I'm just going to kind of leave that area. I'll maybe touch up on here, try to put on some new toner lacquer, and I'll strip off and refinish the other three sides. And here's how it turned out after the toner, including the control door, which I've temporarily installed. So here's how that bottom turned out. It's a nice contrast. And the bottom, well, when I just went with the Perfect Brown pigment toner, it looked way too brown. Just a really, it was too much of a contrast, just a really muddy looking brown. So I actually went over it with brown mahogany, which added some red into it. Now I think it looks great. So, light sanding, more semi-gloss, light sanding, more semi-gloss, and so on. There's just dust up here from overspray from doing the sides. And that'll be that, which leaves the front, which I've been making progress on. I've got it pretty well grain filled and sealed, and the decals are slowly turning out better than I ever thought they would. So after that blender flow out and the anti-blush, I did some light sanding and tried using some stain to add some color to the areas where there was no more lacquer, and then put some clear coat over that, and I'll sand it down and try to blend things in. I'll add some more color to the areas where there's finish loss as needed. But hey, all things considered, they came out much better than I thought it would. And eventually, well, now the way it's going, I think I will just stick with that. I don't think I'll ever see a real need to get reproductions made. So when it's done, imagine that piece of safety glass is back in there and the frame's installed, the knobs are on there, and it looks something like that. So I'm going to continue working on this and putting on more clear coat. Oh, and as far as like the white crap in here, don't worry. When I'm all done with the lacquer, that will get filled in with some flat acrylic paint. I'll just brush it on, some water-based stuff. Easy to work with.